Hello, everybody, and welcome to my space. Welcome to Practicality and Magic. I am so excited to be here today with the beautiful goddess. She is such a goddess, you guys, Kate Vanden. And I don't say that about everybody. I think certain words are overused, like queen and goddess and whatever, but Kate truly is a goddess. And if you don't know that yet, you'll know soon enough. So if you are here, I hope you're here. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes or a few moments to come join us to get the notice that we're live. I know it's during the day. That's hard for some people. If you're here live, say hi, let us know where you are. If you're watching the replay, thank you. We appreciate that as well. I'm starting up Practicality and Magic again because I think it's important. It feels very needed right now, not only by me, but kind of the collective. And, this show, when I started it, the purpose of it is to bring practicality and magic together, which is where I think the true magic lives in our lives. We can tend to think of magic as something kind of up in the ethers and otherworldly and outside of us, but it's super practical, it's super simple. And the more that we can embrace that, the more magical we are. And so this series is all about people who bring magic to the world through their practicality. And I love that. So we're kicking off this new season, if you will, of Practicality and Magic with Kate Vanden. So Kate, welcome. And I would love for you to tell our viewers and our listeners, however they're coming to us today, a little bit about yourself, share what you'd like.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor and a pleasure always being in your company, and even better being with your audience. So I'm so happy to be here. And again, what you were just saying is I love that idea of the practicality and magic, because that's the one thing, throughout my life and my experience so far has been that it's really easy in some ways to be all spiritual and sit and bliss out in a cave on the top of a mountain somewhere. And the challenge comes when you actually have to bring it back to earth, right? You have to actually interact with other people. We're here, spirits having a human experience, which means we have to do the human things, which means our feet are on the ground, and which means we need to show up and practically actually apply what we're learning. So that is singing definitely to my hymn sheet. A little bit about me. It's a meandering story. As I always say, hindsight's always 20/20. And I'm sure when I look back, when I look back in 20 years, I'll be like, oh wow, because I have no concept anymore when what's the 5-year plan, what's the 10-year plan, because that was who I was. I was that very focused, goal orientated, intellectually identifying academic athlete. Everything had a purpose and a goal and a reason, and you either won or you failed. Like, that was the world that I lived in, and that's a world that a lot of people still are living in. If we talk about what that corporate world looks like, right? It's either you win or you fail, and that's not my experience of life. There's a lot of shades of gray, sparkly pink, whatever that is in between. And it meant actually going through some rock bottoms and hitting and having some a divorce, for instance, is the one thing that really triggered and got me onto the personal development path. And my meandering tale in a nutshell was I started my journey to where I am today through personal development and the psychology of human experience. And that came from, heartbreak, as a lot of things do. It was needing an answer to why did my marriage fail, and unpacking that. And I'm so glad it did, because that led me on the journey that wandered through, and it broke down the intellectual identity, because that's how I had been identifying as, was straight A student, again, athlete. I could regurgitate and repeat what I was taught and what I was learning, but I wasn't living it. I was very good at being the parrot that we're trained to be, but it was what I learned, it was to let that all dissolve so that I could start feeling in the world and be my own best guide. And so my journey went from personal development into human psychology, behavior. And then that's when, about 5 years ago, my head was, the top of it literally blew open because I was in big sky territory, up in kind of your territory up in the world. And I suddenly realized that actually I didn't need to think my way through life anymore, that I could actually feel it and intuit it. And since that moment, life has been a very different experience for both myself and all of the coaching clients that I've been working with. So that's my meandering tale as to where I am today.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And, you know, I love that I think that this is a common thread with a lot of us who have kind of moved to a more intuitive life. I mean, you know, I've always had an intuitive life, I guess, since I've always experienced, you know, connection to the spiritual realm, but actually moving from that place of a thinking life to a feeling life, an intuitive life, often comes with something that happens in the question of why, right? Wanting to understand on a more like visceral level, just being able to maybe not even have the answers, because I think why is sometimes a like useless question,
Yeah.
you know? And it can get us really stuck, right? Because we have an idea of what the why is, and when it's not there, we keep going, right? But I think that that has been a jumping off point for a lot of people, and I love that, right? Because it's just whatever it is that can get us looking deeper.
And trust, I think that's one of the biggest outcomes is trusting, and trusting self, trusting messages, trusting your intuition, trusting that and just that using as an example. So I used to go to Oracle, I still do, but I would go to tarot readers and Oracle card readers. And again, seeking for the what is happening? Why is this happening? And just, you know, that level of security that we need as a human, wanting um, just have an understanding. And there is this natural curiosity where we do genuinely want to know more. We want to know more about ourselves. We want to know more about our experience. And I remember being their message was absolute at the time, right? It was because I didn't trust my interpretation at all. I'd look at whatever they pulled out and I might have seen something completely different, but I would discount it because they were in the expert seat or they were the ones that were telling me. And it was through that whole process, and it wasn't even a significant moment, but I know it has shifted, where it got to the point where I now trust myself first, and I will go to somebody else for an affirmation or confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll, you know, I guess, but there was the shift into the trusting of, oh no, that doesn't resonate with me. No, that's not quite true. And going, let me just check in with my own guides and my own divination tools first. And it's a process. It doesn't just happen. You know, for me, you know, specifically, it didn't just happen. It was a testing, trusting, testing, trusting. And so that you strengthen that intuitive trust muscle until, you know.
Yeah. And that's really what it's about, right? That trust muscle, trusting that intuitive muscle, because that's literally what it is. We're all born with it, and it's just a matter of how we use it, how often we use it, all of that determines how easy or how hard it is for us to trust ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a process. It's not like you just, I mean, maybe some people can wake up and just go, okay, today it's done. I trust myself no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, that hasn't been my experience, and that's okay, right? But it's just this process. And so everybody that's here, I want you to say hi and tell us where you're visiting us from. And then, you know, share a little snippet about your process or your experience with your intuition, where you're at in your journey. Maybe you just started dipping a toe. Maybe you're a veteran. Wherever you are at, we want to know and talk about it. And I want to make sure that I tell everybody that everybody that's live with us today, your name is going to get entered into a drawing for a very special something. Haven't got it all figured out yet, but it's going to be good. It's a giveaway. I'm celebrating 32 years married tomorrow. And
nice. Congratulations.
thank you. I figured that, why not celebrate that as well? We celebrated my birthday. Now we're celebrating my anniversary. So, hi, Brenda from Monument. I love Brenda. Hi, Lily. So glad you guys are here. Thank you. And if you want to invite people, we would love for you to invite and share the live so that we can get more people in the conversation. So, anyway, share with us, guys, where you're at in your journey. So, Kate, now that we've talked about how you got from that space that you were in corporate to where you are now, I would love to talk about, because we brought it up a little bit, about how we connected and where we first met. So I'll let you share that.
I have no concept of time. It must be 6 years ago now, ish, more than 5. We met here in Austin at, was it 2018? 6 years. 6 years this year.
Yeah.
And I was just telling Michelle before we started, I will never forget it. And it's again one of those points in my life where you look back. I look at life as a pinball machine, but in reverse, right? When you get bing, 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 that was one of those ping points for me. We met during a break. You were a guest of Colette Baron Reed at her event here in Austin, and I took a few minutes to connect with you over a break, and as per usual, I'm usually in tears when Michelle is talking to me within 5 minutes, and that was my first experience of her. And what I loved so much about that was you pierced the veil for me, if that makes sense. You could see through, because at that point I was still, again, wearing, as we all do, right? There was one of the masks that I was wearing right there, and you saw through it, and you gave me some advice that really, it melted my heart in a beautiful way. It leaked out of my eyes, obviously, as it always does. But you were a pivotal point in my life, and you have been ever since. And you are one of the treasures that I carry very close in my heart around. But that's where we met. It was synchronicity, serendipity, whatever you want to call it. It was not. We did not have any proactive involvement in how it happened, but I'm glad it did.
Me as well. And those, Kate said, I don't know if you remember us meeting, and I have the people that I am still in connection with, that I've remained in connection with since those Oracle Palooza days. I have snippets of when I first, connected with you. The details then go kind of fuzzy, but those were really special times. And Lily says she was there too, which I absolutely love, and I remember that. And, those were special times. And for me, I really, really love it. I loved it because it gave me an opportunity to connect one-on-one with people, which I love. That's what that I do is about. And to really bring what I consider, my brand of genius to the table, which is truly seeing you, right? I see it. I see you. I see through all the masks, all the labels, all the pretenses, all of it, and see to the truth of what's going on. And so I love that. And I love that it's been 6 years almost, and we're still connected, and I love it. I love it. So
let's just getting better, which is great. Yeah. One of the things, actually, if we pull at the thread of what we were just asking the audience to think about, is your relationship with your intuition. One of the things that I found really a great place to start is asking coaching clients when I work with them is where did you lose the trust in your intuition? And that usually comes up a lot quicker, because it will be around, I knew this and I didn't trust myself, or I thought this and I didn't act on it, and trust myself. And that's actually often where we'll start to repair that relationship with. And we say it's like trusting your intuition. I would say it's trusting yourself, right? Your intuition is just an extension of one of your antenna. And where a lot of people will get themselves all tangled up and need to start from is getting right back to that point of forgiveness of self at that,
Mm.
because you betrayed. A lot of the times it will come out as I betrayed myself. Right? I didn't listen to myself, or I knew and I didn't do anything about it, or and then there's that whole snaggle that comes in around. I know I get an intuitive hit, but now do I listen to it and act on it because I didn't then, and then this, and so you can see how it just spirals down into this almost like disrupted relationship with yourself. So that's often a place to get right back to.
Absolutely. And I love that, Kate, because where did you first lose trust, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think it's for most of us, it's a process because we're born with a fully intact intuition and connection. And then we learn to let go of it. We learn to distrust it, right? We learn to put our faith in things outside of us because, oh, well, that person knows more than me, or that adult,
Mhm.
or whatever it is, right? And so
Mhm.
I love that. Let's see. This is Sammy. I just love Sammy. Hi, Michelle and Kate. Sammy from Salt Lake City. Hi, Sammy. I would say
Nice.
I'm entering into a space of trusting. The last few years have been in a learning to believe space, believing in my visions and intuition. Ooh, I love that. I
Very
love that.
nice.
And hi, Tracy. Welcome. I'm so glad you turned on.
Mhm.
And now Sammy says, now I would say I'm in a space of trusting. I love that. Because that's really what it's about. And which I think this is the perfect segue, Kate, into why I wanted Kate on the show is to talk about her growth cycle. Kate introduced me to this. Oh my goodness, it's probably last summer. I think I started around July. And it is an absolutely beautiful journey that Kate has created. And I want for her to tell us about it. I'm going to hold this up. Can everybody see
Mhm.
that? That's the growth cycle. And so, Kate, take it away. Tell us all about the growth cycle.
Which is, it's great that we talked about practicality, because that's one of the reasons that I designed this. Was it's a practical tool, it's a practical system that we can sit and talk about right now. And there, um, the kind of the backstory to a little bit is, again, from a curiosity perspective, is I'm obsessed with profiles, right? Any opportunity I get to take a quiz or take a profile or to do this or to learn my Myers-Briggs, my strength finders, my astrology chart, it's all human design. It's fascinating. And what I realized is so I've been using the growth cycle again. It landed with me 6 years ago, right? So there was something clearly 6, 7 years ago now, something happening around that time in my life where it's something that I started using and then developing. So I was my first guinea pigs with it,
I love that.
and then I started like, oh, this is working. And the reason that I fell in love with it personally so much is because it's something that I refer to and have done every single day since, every day, because I can do something with the information. Whereas again, it's nice knowing what my sun sign is, moon sign is, rising sign is, what my human design is, what when I wake up in the morning, what do I do with that information? How do I be the best generator today? Like there's no practicality, so it was very frustrating for me to not be able to do something, and or the information goes, oh, that's interesting, that's enlightening, and the growth cycle is it's designed as a way for us to refer to a framework every day. So you always know. So as you can see on that map, if we call it the chart, I call it a map because that's the metaphors and analogies that I like. We travel through a a cycle every single year, and there's so many layers that have been now added into it. So we can talk about directions, we can talk about seasons, we can talk about your any of the astrology that's happening right now. So, for instance, where you are right now, Michelle, is, I would say, in your harvest cycle, but that's very important when you then think about what's happening with Pluto and Aquarius and what's
Mm-hmm.
happening with, everything. So what you can layer in all of this, or you can keep it super shallow. And the idea behind it is by understanding what your personal growth cycle is, because I have news for you in case this is new. You're always growing, whether you want to or not. and you're always
Damn it.
evolving, right? Whether you want to or not, it is not done. And you've been walking this growth cycle every day of your life. The difference now is you have conscious awareness of it, so you can co-create with it instead of being a victim of it or fighting against it. And one of the analogies that I use a lot, and there's it's a personal story which actually I think kind of illustrates this, is when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I was studying osteopathy and naturopathy in London, and it was very much about the human body, right? That's was the entire focus, and with some psychology, but the spiritual definitely hadn't entered into the realm of my worldview at that time. And I used to go and swim in the Olympic pool in the morning before class started, and I was, self-taught swimmer, and I remember getting in the pool and I would fight the water for 20 lengths because that's what you did, right? That's what made you stronger. You fought against the water. You were exhausted at the end of every length, and get out of the pool at the end. It's like, all right, I did it. I competed with the element of water for the last hour, and now I'm exhausted, and now I'm going to get on with my day. And somebody handed me a book at that time, which was The Art of Swimming, which I highly recommend if you, because there was a companion to The Art of Running, and it's about applying the Alexander technique to your swimming. And I read this, it was tiny. I read it very quickly and I was like, this is not going to work, because of course I knew better, as I always did then. And there were simple things that it was suggesting. And if you can then, this is the perfect metaphor for life, looking in hindsight. First thing was, stop fighting the water. Let it support you. What? It's like, how am I supposed to get fitter if I have no resistance, right? Stop fighting the water. Let it support you. Float. So okay. The second one was about alignment. It was something that just bringing your chin down millimeters changed your entire spinal alignment in the water. So now the element of water supporting me. I'm now in alignment with the element of water. A few changes to the strokes, again, not slapping and fighting with the water, but actually working with it and flowing. I am not joking. The next day, I did 60 lengths without even breaking a sweat. That I had done 20 the day before, same pool, same person, same thing. And these were little tiny changes that had massive life-changing effects. So what's the metaphor for life here? Is if you actually relax, allow life to support you, allow the elements, because water wants to support you. That's, as an element, the earth wants to support you. You're not fighting against it. Your air, the air
to support you.
Yeah. And why do we fight it? And it's a rhetorical question, because we all do it. We've all been there, because we're all laughing because this is a story that's not uncommon, right? So, but it is the point of, so I was able to relax, feel supported, in alignment with the flow, not fighting against the current, and I achieved more. Concept, right? It's like, wow. What if life could be this way? Yeah. So and the growth cycle was, several years away in concept, but that's the perfect analogy of why this works so well, because it allows you to have an understanding of how all of the elements and the energy around you in your life and your own personal growth cycle, which is happening regardless of your conscious awareness or not, how to lean on it so that it can support you, so that you can swim with the flow, not against it, and you can actually achieve more, get more done, be more in alignment with your life. And stop me and ask me any questions. I will talk about this for hours.
I just want to interject one thing, because I just love, I think there are no accidents, and I love synchronicity and all that. I wrote yesterday about, I woke up and I was feeling like all the water of, winter, and this full moon tomorrow. And I was just like, oh my God, like all the emotion, like it felt so much. And I was reminded of that. Like the water is supportive. It's not here to for you to have to push against. And I was reminded of when I was 12, I was tired of going to pool parties and not being able to swim. And so I decided I was going to teach myself to swim by just jumping in the deep end. and figuring it out and letting the water like support me. And it was such a transformative time, like that instant of jumping in the water, feeling the water like literally propel me up to the surface, right? It's like the water didn't want to keep me down. The water wanted to push me up. And just that whole experience, and then learning to float. Like, oh, I really need the water to, I don't have to really do anything. The water will just support me. And so I love the synchronicity
Yeah.
of those two stories. And I'm going to get that book because wow,
I
I
do.
love it,
It's talk about metaphors for life, right? But again, you think about it, it's not even, if we just pull it that sort of say, it's not even just the water supporting you, right? It's the air in your lungs that's giving you buoyancy. It's the matter in your body, which is your earth matter. It's the fire and the electrical currents that are coursing through you. All of those things are contributing to helping or hindering you, depending on how you want to operate in the world, how you want to lean into those elements. So the growth cycle is I like to see it as a spiral, right? So if you imagine that every year we are walking around the sun, as a good way of looking at it, but you're elevating, right? So because you're learning and growing,
So
you
that
are then,
fire.
as you spiral up. So again, where you are right now in your harvest cycle, when you're in this place next year, you are going to be in the same place, but you're going to be a little more elevated because you
Yes.
learned through this year.
I've
So you
gone
can
through
then
this growth cycle.
exactly. And so everybody goes through the story of the metaphor is very metaphorical. You'll hear me a lot of analogies, a lot of, metaphors. I lean very heavily into nature-based, earth, based,
Yes.
elemental-based metaphors.
Which is
And
part of
it's,
what I love about this. This is part of what resonates because that's what I'm all about. So sorry, Kate, I didn't
that's all
want
right.
to interrupt.
No, it's fine. And but there's story, right? And we love story, and I love story. And that is again a personal preference of mine is the color, the visual, the story, because it makes it very visceral. And we every year we plant seeds, and we plant seeds of intention, again, consciously or unconsciously. But there's so where you're going next, Michelle, is you are starting your next cycle literally in 3 days, right? So you start the cycle every year which is
I'm right
actually phase
here.
11.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'm almost out of that and I'm moving over there.
Yeah. So we start the cycle in phase 11, which is again, you don't start from 1 because 1 is when you've already, the work's already started. If you actually, again, think about life in general, is phase 11 of the visionary is where you choose the seeds that you're going to be planting for this year. And the languaging around it that I've really find that's resonating really well with me, because I'm 2 days in, I've got 2 more days before I'm putting my seeds in the ground, is what am I dedicating this year to? Where am I going to dedicate my heart, soul, energy, focus? And what do I want? Because we can, again, fall into the trap of goals. Well, I want to do this. I want to make this. I want to have this. I want to do this. And what I really encourage people to think about is, who do I want to become this year? And what will be the outcome of me becoming that? Or what do I want the outcome to be? Who do I need to become to make that happen? Right? Because that's what the next level of the journey is. You choose the seeds that you're going to metaphorically plant or dedicate your life to, or whatever that looks like to you. And then you go on the journey of the growth, whereas the seeds are in the ground. What happens in the ground? You're in the dark. You're confused. You can't see the light. What have I made a mistake? Did I plant the right seeds? All of the goblins and the gremlins and everything that comes up in the dark, but you have to reach for the light, right? So then again, there's this sense of being reborn when the energy bursts out of the ground, and then you put down roots, and then you reach out and to connect to the world around you, and you then go through phases of growth and relaxation, of breathing out and breathing in, the waves out, because that's what happens. We intellectually understand that when we put an oak seed or an acorn in the ground, it's not an oak tree tomorrow. We know that, right? Because we've experienced that, but we don't give ourselves that grace in our life.
We know that in nature,
pressure,
right?
right?
We expect it to be different for ourselves, which is crazy. And especially because like I said, I love that you do everything with a connection to the elements and the earth and the seasons, which is so important to me and
Mhm.
my work and my life and how I
Yeah.
try to live my life. But it's the opposite. We come in, we're in January, we're just off the holidays, and this is the time when we really feel like we want to rest and we want to go within and we want to cocoon and we just want
Mhm.
to be still and quiet. And we're being told, set your goals, figure it out. What do you want this year? Blah, blah, blah. And I think that there is a place for that to like gestate those
Mhm.
dreams, those hopes, those wishes, but not necessarily the action points, right? And that's
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, that's
So
the thing as well, is that, but some people are right now. So you and I
yes,
are in alignment where our growth cycle is, because I just finished harvesting, and then
yep,
there's so I'm about to plant my seeds and you're going to plant your seeds. But there's some people who are complete opposite. They're in their
absolutely.
child and they're in their creativity. So this time of year, they're like, they want to go, they want to do, they want to play,
Yes.
they want to get out there. And that's what makes it so unique, is we all go through the same
Hmm.
story, right? Every single year, we all have the same story. We all go through the same phases. We all go. The difference is, one, how you personally experience it, and two, when. Right, that's what's unique. Is there every single person has their own unique fingerprint of it's based on your birth details, your astrological
Yes.
chart, and so that means that you're experiencing it at different times. And so how great would that be if you were to understand that when your husband, where he is on his growth cycle, so
Oh
that
my
not
God.
only can you communicate to him, this is something I'm working on. I really want to start moving into relationships and compatibility around this, because if you can understand where you are and you can put words around where you are and what you need and the world to how to help support you, but you can then also understand where he is, where your children are, where your coworkers are, and what they
Absolutely.
need from you, and how you can give them some grace. Because again, there are dark times and there are light times. There are expansive times and there's contraction times. And if you can understand what somebody is going through, you can also help be a support in that person's life so that they can go with their natural flow without putting additional pressure or expectations on them that aren't natural. And again, the idea being like where you're experiencing right now is 11 months ago you planted seeds in the ground that you're not harvesting. And that doesn't also mean this isn't a wish list that Santa, I want this because I'm a good girl. You will harvest where you dedicate your time, energy, and effort every year. And this
Absolutely.
is a real, kind of come to Jesus moment where you can be honest with yourself. I created talk about personal responsibility. How can I respond in this moment? And what is the ability that I have to respond to what I've created? Because I created it this year. I made decisions. I decided where I was committing my time, my energy, my was I focusing on fears and letting weeds grow in my garden, or was I clearing out the weeds so that what I want in my life can expand and grow? The metaphor is never
Maybe
ending
even
around this.
maybe even not making a decision, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
that's making a decision as well.
Yeah,
Not
which allows weeds to grow, and again, if you can think about it, so I don't want weeds in my life. Well, if you're allowing in negativity or energy leaks, or your health isn't up to, isn't where it could be, your energy levels aren't, you're allowing weeds to grow in your life that are actually suffocating what's truly important to your soul. And again, the next level and layer of that is it isn't just making wishes, it's actually really giving you an opportunity to tune in and ask yourself, ask your soul, ask your higher self and your guides, what is it that I am here to do this year? How is my soul asking me to grow this year? So therefore, what that means is you grow against resistance, right? You grow against overcoming and learning, which means if you can actually reframe that to this frustration is here to help me grow, right? So
yes.
I want to approach it proactively and learn from it. So guess what? When I cycle around next year, I'm not going, oh, here we go again.
Mhm.
And learning from it, it's like, oh, because I will repeat, you are never going to stop growing. You're never going to go around the cycle and be like, oh, I dealt with my inner child when I was in the child phase, so I'm never going to have to do it again. Unfortunately,
Don't
that's
do
not
that,
true.
please.
Right. And so what it means is you have the power to do something with that information. And this is what it's all about. This is an empowerment tool. This is, and the clients that really get it understand that they are responsible for their experience in this world. And usually it's a case of they want some help to understand how or why. And the clients that really resonate
more
are the ones
responsibility, probably,
responsibility,
right?
right?
Yeah.
It's that, and also one of the real trademarks of most of my clients, and I think it's because it's who I am too, is I call myself a recovering thinkaholic. And there is that leaning into it's because the superwoman syndrome, right? Of I'm going to take care of me, but it's fine. I will take care of me, and I will take care of so and so and so and so and so and so. And it's, again, most of my clients will come to me because they are running their own businesses, they're mothers, they're successful, they've had people come to them for answers, and they're relied on to be the one who has all their shit together. And that is not sustainable all the time until you actually can turn around and say, you know what, and I will say, this is one of the conversations that I have a lot, is you are doing other people a disservice by not allowing them to grow, right? And you can't over give and over love somebody and expect them to flourish. You have to, again, give them space to grow and be the supportive mechanism in their life. But again, a lot of people are identified with and valued as, again, for me as an example, I was very heavily relied on as operational, right? So I call myself, it was actually a pretty interesting breakdown moment a couple of years ago when I realized that I had been getting paid for years to be a stress shield. And that was a eye opener for me, because I had been framing it and I had been telling myself it's because I can do it. Like I was some kind of superwoman, that I had all this power to be able to just take on everybody else's business stress, everybody else's personal stress, and carry it and shoulder it and take care of all of my own. And my clients would say to me, I slept so well last night, like knowing that you basically got everything handled. And I'd be like fried, because, um, and I have a lot of people nod and understand that. And that really resonates with a lot of people, because what had to happen was I had to unidentify with that.
Yes.
That my value was not in being a stress shield and but then if I wasn't that, what was I? Right? This is what happens, because you then have to re-engage and re-associate, well, who am I? And so a lot of stuff comes up around this. But I know what I'm not anymore is a stress shield. So
I love that. I love that. And I want to read Tracy's comment because I think it's so good. She says, in your model, it sounds like there is a way to expand into more complexity within your growth with alternative modalities, concepts, or keep it simple until you have your footing and want to add more. I love that, because
I love that.
That is exactly what it is, Tracy. And thank you so much for that insight. Yeah. And that's what I've loved about my playing with this. And that's really what I've done. First, let me say, when I got my chart, when I got my growth cycle and I saw it, I was blown away by its beauty, which you see Kate is gorgeous. So I'm not surprised that she's created something that's so beautiful, but it is just absolutely stunning. And, seeing it on here doesn't do it justice, but each picture, it's just beautiful. And so, which I love, because, I love beauty. And so to be able to pull this out and look at it every day and see where I'm at, and really, the colors, and it's just so aesthetically pleasing that it makes, for me, it's like, oh, I really want to do this because I love to look at it, right? And that practicality of having something like I printed mine out, because that's how I am. I want it paper in hand. I want to be able to look at it and pull it out when I want to. And I've had like 10 or 12 copies because I keep marking them up. I write all over in the margins, little notes of what I'm doing and things like that, in addition to my notebook, but that's me. So I love that practical aspect of it. And right now as you said, I'm in my winter phase. I'm in um, the harvest, the provider piece, and I'm harvesting. And the question is, what do I have to share with others? And I was telling Kate before we went live that it's so interesting because what this moving through this growth cycle has done for me has really illuminated places in life that where my true wants, desires, my true heart, my true authentic self has had a louder voice, and things that maybe were louder, I then look at and go, oh, that's really not what it is. Like, that's not me. That's not what I want. That's all that. And so I've just loved how the insight that it's brought, which again is the practicality piece of practicality and magic, right? If I'm not aware of that, and I'm the loudest voice in the room is something that isn't in alignment, I'm off track. I'm not in alignment with my magic. So,
Yeah.
and guys, what questions do you have for Kate and her growth cycle and the different, how you move through it, and maybe some questions that are on there? Like, I've got to tell you, of course, I looked at the whole thing because that's what I do. I can't just keep my eyes, on my paper, on my part of the cycle. And I looked ahead and it's like, oh, here we come to the psychic area and what scares me. And then, the self, who am I? And I'm like, oh Lord, like, oh, that feels so big and overwhelming. But
Yeah.
I trust this process and the cycle so far, knowing that they build on each other. So I don't have to worry about those. Once I get there, I'll have done the work.
Yeah. So while those questions are coming in, there's a couple points that while you've been talking, I just want to kind of clarify, which are you're different every year, right? And that's important for you to learn and grow, is that you are reborn a fresh version of yourself every single year. And this allows you to lean into that and you might become, an enhanced version of who you were this year, or you might go through a year where you're suddenly having an entire identity crisis. And you're like, that's not who I am anymore. So this supports that. And one of the other things that's really that I think is the magic around this is it supports both your intellect and your intuition. And that is really, when I kind of unraveled that, I was like, that's why, right? Because I'm not somebody that says all intuition, no intellect. I'm equal, right? The way that I'm learning to live my life is, who is driving the car? Is it my intellect or my intuition? But you can't have one without the other. They're so, your ego, is important to you. It's your identity, it's your personality, it's who you are and why you're here. So to deny it is not healthy. But what I found with this is
it's not honest.
Right.
And the people who feel like we've got to get rid of our ego, well, first of all, my belief is that's never going to happen. That's part of our human experience, and it's a very viable part. Our job is to learn how to manage it. So I love that. And Kate, I'm the same way. Like, I don't ever want us to not think, but only thinking, foregoing our intuition, gets us in a mess.
Exactly.
And that's the practicality and the magic.
Right.
The intellect.
So it's the intellect, actually, the framework. I'm very visual, as you can see in all of the work that I do. And so this was built for me. I ended up just sharing it with the world. And it's had like five different versions of the map. If you look back through, I've redesigned it every year, and I'll probably redesign it again next year. But and that's just because it's part of the evolution. It is its own growing thing now. Like, this is not me. But what it does is, it's an understanding, right? The intellect needs the security and the certainty, right? So your intellect knows, okay, I understand there is a start point, there is a cycle, there's 12 phases. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. This is the outcome. This is what I'm focusing on. So the nervous system can calm down because the intellect has something to focus on. It can
Yes.
understand what is happening. What that does is it keeps your, and you justify it or intellectualize it however you want. That keeps that part of you occupied. And then what happens, because of the metaphors and the stories and the energy that actually comes in, that's where your intuition goes out into the world and comes back and gives you information, because you're not worried. You're not on high alert that I don't know what's coming.
Yes.
I can't. You do know what's coming. You know where you are. You know why you're here. You understand what's coming up for you, and you can. It's like, oh, that's interesting that I just had that thought, or I just had this. Yes, because I'm in my healer phase. Like this makes sense. Your intellect can make sense of something. And then you send your intuitive feelers out into the world to grow, right? To come back and say, this is how we're
Yes.
going to expand this year. And the other thing you talk about being feeling overwhelmed. Again, that's why it was built as a system. It isn't, you're not just throwing your math and going, okay, see ya, have a good one. There's a workbook. There's an
Yes.
online portal where you can keep diving back in. And I love the question about going deeper or shallow. And that isn't exclusive for the whole year. You can go through one phase and be like, you know what, I just want to focus on what makes me happy, and that's it. And then the next phase you can be in when you're looking at your astrology chart and you're looking at your transits and you're looking at what's happening. I do that, right? Some phases I'm all about the journal prompts. Some phases I don't even look at it because I'm just barely getting through that phase. And it suits you and serves you where you are. And also, this is another thing that's been kind of coming up because it hadn't occurred to me, but I've had the question a couple of times is that we get into the having to finish it as a course, right? And so people are like, oh, I didn't do the questions for the last two phases. Thanks, sweetie. I didn't do the questions for the last two phases, so I'm behind. I'm like, no. That is not what this is for. You are where you are right now. Meet the growth cycle program where you are right now. There is no point going back 2 phases ago and trying to answer the journal prompts because you're not there anymore. You're not in child anymore. Yeah,
And
so there's
that's one of the things that I love as well, Kate. I just want to make sure I get this point in, or because I know that I'm not the only one like this. There's no wrong way to do this. Like you can go full in on the phase, or you can just get little bits and pieces that you need and know that you've done what you needed, right? And on to the next phase. So, and I love that because I think that part of that superwoman whole mentality is thinking that there's the perfect way to do it. And when we don't do it the perfect way, we failed. And I love the kindness that you have. And I also want to mention for everybody, because I really appreciate this. There are 2 ways with the book, with the workbook. There's a written that you can do online or print out if you like, but there's also you can listen and to it. And I love that because there have been times where I'm like, I'm going to be driving for a while and I just want to listen to, I've read it, I've got it printed out, but now I want to hear it because I'm going to get something different or something's going to land in a new way. So I love that you give options. And let's see. So I want to make sure that we get Lisa by Grace. Go Ias says it sounds so neat. I imagine that a printed copy helps a lot. It does. Tracy is asking, what all do you use to figure in someone's beautiful roadmap?
We just need your birth details, and the exact time of birth is the most accurate. Although, if you don't have your exact time of birth, we can jimmy it, but that gives you the most accurate.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Lisa says, I think this sounds interesting. Lisa, I think you would love it. I don't know anybody who really wouldn't, because it is such a tangible, practical tool that you can use daily, weekly, whatever works for you. Lily says it sounds like a living chart, not to follow, but that it is living. Absolutely. I love that.
It's, the analogy that I like to is like you're walking the path, right? You're walking your journey through life, and this is what's in your backpack. This is when you stop and take a break and you're like, oh, let me just check in, like which fork in the road do I take next? Or am I heading up a mountain, or am I going down into a valley? Do I follow the river for a while? The other layer that I'll add into this is that we're just talking just about the growth cycle itself, but there's so many ways that you can add value to it with divination tools, right? So I love oracle cards, and again, because they're pretty, and that's my way of seeing the world, the stories, the metaphors. So I will, for VIP clients that I work with on an in-depth year basis, they get an oracle card reading for the entire year, and every phase we do an in-depth oracle card reading. So that's for that specific year. So again, you can do this yourself, or book sessions, or have support around it. But the cycle is the same every year. So you get your map once, and that's it. You don't need to keep buying it again every year, or there's no other investment, because that information you use every single year. You can then layer in information. So for this year specifically, what am I working on? So I'll just give you an example. So I said, I've just started my year. I'm just planting my seeds, and I'm I'm surrendering outdated beliefs about myself is my big theme for the year. And the storyteller I thought was really interesting. It was smoke and mirrors, and the storyteller came out as my themes for the year, which is, again, being aware of what stories am I telling myself, seeing through the illusion. So that is for this year specifically, that I am aware that everything that's coming up, every phase I go through, is all leading back to, oh yeah, I can see how that's helping me see through an illusion. That's helping me cut and write a new story, cut down the old story. So you can, again, layer in a lot of different modalities with it.
I love that. And Tracy says, I appreciate my ego. It is a great first alert system. It's my job to take the information and use it with my intuition to better navigate my path. Amen. I love that. And so, Kate, because, I'm all about, well, this is what I do. I find something that I love, that works for me, that adds something beautiful to my life, makes my job easier as a human, which is what I'm all about. And then I share it, because that's what I'm here for. That's part of my purpose. And so, I really want to share you and your beautiful gift with the world. And so, first of all, katevandenboss.com, that's your site. Is that where you want to direct people to work with you?
Yeah, there's a couple of different options. If you are hearing me talk about the growth cycle and you're like, I want to know more about that, I'm ready to take action, I'm in. I am happy to offer $100 off for Michelle viewers, and just reach out to me, or quote Michelle, and I'll give you $100 off the program. And if you're not quite ready, you're a little bit more curious, you're welcome. And this is important. This is why I'm here, and this is why, if you are resonating, then something is telling you to take action, then I want to support you to take action. I've been there, and that's important. If there's curiosity and you're like, I like her energy, you want to hear more about what she's got going on, I have my Explorer Inner Circle membership, which would be great resources for you, and you spend some more time with me. And the easiest way is jump on my list in katevandenboss.com, and we can stay in touch from there. And just email me as well. Like, I love to connect. Let's do the old school way of just saying hi and reaching out. There's a contact form on my site. If there's something that showed up as an insight today, or an aha, let me know. Like, let's connect over it. And there also might be resources that I can point you in the right direction of. But I'm so excited for this year. I'm so excited. 2024 is going to be an enormous transformational year for so many, and collaboration over competition is key. And so we're all here to support each other. We're all here to be each other's water, right? Let's support each other instead of fighting against each other. Let's find ways that we can be in alignment and be in flow, and each have our own journeys. And these kind of conversations are crucial for that. So I'd love to connect.
Yes. And you guys, connect with her, email her, use her contact form on her site, email her and just say, hi, I was, whatever, because Kate is an amazing resource. She is truly, just like I said at the beginning, she's a goddess. I don't use that word lightly. And, take advantage of it. Take advantage of all of the the discount that she's offering for being here. Let's see. I want to. Oh, Lisa by Grace Go I said, missed the beginning of this video. Not clear on what the map is. What is the process called? So
it's the growth cycle. It's just keep it simple. Call it the growth
yep,
cycle.
I love that. And you will love it. And I think JoJo she wants her growth cycle too, Kate. She wants to know. She was like, all of a sudden at one point, she just like sat up on the chair and started looking at me and like, Mom, I need to be on that video. So here she is. So I gave her the sign and over she came.
Nice.
Yes. And let's see. What else, Kate? I'm trying to think. I would like to just obviously thank everybody for being here. Again, if you're live, you get the very generous offer that Kate's given of $100 off if you mention Michelle. And then because I'm celebrating 32 years of being married to Jeff Snelling tomorrow, we're celebrating with, I'm doing a giveaway. I don't know what I'm giving away exactly. It'll come to me when it's time. I've got little snippets here and there. But if you were live with us today, you get entered in. And then I'm going to be live tomorrow, same place, YouTube and Facebook with my moon messages at 1:11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we'll be talking about all things moon and pulling cards and doing fun things. And you'll be entered. So if you double up, if you were here today and you're there tomorrow, you're going to get 2 entries. So that's a great way to take advantage of it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell everybody about what's going on with me and my my work. And I again thank Kate for being here. Thank you everybody for being live, being on the replay. What questions? Does anybody have any questions for Kate about like where you might be on your cycle, finding your cycle, anything like that, your growth cycle? Again, I want to show it because it is so absolutely beautiful. It's so gorgeous. I just love all the colors. I love the bluish greens, the turquoisey, those are so pretty. And Sammy says, hi, Jojo. Jojo, you're going to say hi back? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Lisa. Ooh, I love this. So Lisa by Grace Goai says, I probably could benefit from knowing about your growth cycle before she launches her deck. Absolutely, Lisa. Lisa has a gorgeous deck of oracle cards that are all based on the Ho'oponopono, which I absolutely love. And so, absolutely. So before you launch your deck, somebody before they make a big decision about work, somebody before they make a big decision about a relationship, or because it's a Tuesday, or what's today, Wednesday, and you want to get some really practical, magical guidance for where you are. That's the reason to have your growth cycle. So really, everybody needs it. And Tracy wants to know, how is it different from astrology and numerology in regards to forecasting? I love that.
Okay, great question. And there it is. I'm not an astrologer. That is, I'm going to make that very clear. It is based on your birth chart astrology. It is not on your. I have great astrologers that I will refer you to, and what this is it gives you a framework to make decisions based on where you are today. So if you were to add in the layer of, if you know your astrology or your numerology or whatever, the transits where you are right now, if you take that information and layer on top of your growth cycle, that gives you more information. It's more in-depth information. In terms of the forecasting, there is no forecasting because it's all about what you decide to do with the information. So remember the books, this is very dating myself, but remember when we were children, we had the books that you could decide which the rest of the story was going to be. Turn to page 52 if you want to do this, turn to page 64 if you want, so and so to keep walking. That's how I see this. This is a decision making framework. So because you are co-creating your path, it isn't about whatever your question around forecasting would be, is when am I going to meet somebody, or when will I do this, or when will I do that. I use it as a way of deciding what to do today, because I know where I'm going and where I'm going to be investing my energy. And is that kind of answering that question? Am I making sense? It isn't.
Yeah, I think so.
It's about knowing what's coming, but it's not knowing how it's coming, right? So if, again, for instance, Michelle, you're moving into the visionary phase of planting your seeds. Conceptually, all right, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be focusing on what's important to me. But I don't know how that's going to show up. What that means is that educates how you respond to what's showing up.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, I love that. I love that. So it isn't necessarily saying this is coming into my life, this is going to happen. It's not about like being a psychic necessarily, using this tool for psychic intel. It's more this, it's you being responsible for your life and your story and what you're creating, right?
And all of those things, I work with psychics, I work with astrologers, I ingest all of that information, and I use it to educate the decisions that I then make around what I'm doing next.
Yes. And I love that, because I think that's very important, because that's one of the, it just clicked why I appreciate my growth cycle, your growth cycle for my life so much, is because oftentimes astrology, it feels very out of control. We feel like we have no input in it. We have no, we can't say, oh, I don't like where my birth chart is, therefore I'm going to change it. We have no control over that, right? It's set. But this growth cycle, we have all, we get to input everything or nothing up to us.
Because, that's a good example. If we have a couple minutes of that question that was just asked, the creative, right? If you can just think of the story of swimming against, one of the things, are you swimming upstream? Right? If you are trying to create something and it is the wrong time of your cycle to try and create something, you are going to expend so much freaking energy swimming against the current, because it might be a case that you actually, so let's use this as a good example. To create something new, to do it really healthy and in an authentic way, you need to know who you are first, right? So if you are trying to bypass the rebirth phase of who am I, and really getting clear on who am I this year, and then as that person, what do I need? What is my foundation? What does my environment need to be like? If you try and bypass those and you try and go straight into creating and sharing, one, you have no clean, clear foundation. You're creating from chaos. It's exhausting, and it's not going to stick because it's not authentic. So if you can understand that and you're like, all right, well, I need to have some patience and know that in 2 phases time is probably when I'm going to be sharing, because I will have language, I will have, the concepts will be clear, and I'll know who I am and I'll know what I need. It will go out into the world a lot easier. You can do whatever you want any time of the year. It's just how much energy you're going to expend and how effective it's going to be. It's kind of my take on
where
that.
you're going to be grounded, and how grounded what you want to bring is going to be, because that, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Sammy has a great question. How should we sign up to receive your generous offer? The website prompts us to pay first.
Contact me and I'll send you the link. Just keep it easy. And or you can or you can go katevandenbos.com/growth and put in Michelle, Michele, as the discount code. But reach out if you don't get that.
Guys, 1L.
1L, yeah. That's why I hesitate, because that's the 1L in Michelle. But is just reach out. It's just me. I'm here on the other end, and I can take care of you. Bypassing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
This is
the exact yeah. This is the opposite of spiritual bypassing. This is like, oh yeah, here I am looking in the mirror every day, because it's just me. And wherever you go, there you are. So why don't you kind of make it the best? And, you know, there's,
I love that.
this is,
Wherever you
it gives
go, there
you,
you are.
right, exactly. And know yourself, know thyself. And the world becomes a very interesting, cleaner, clearer place to play in. And that's the whole point. It's here for joy. Because what do you do when you have, if you're not tired and exhausted fighting the world, guess what? You get to float and you get to play and you get to enjoy it and still feel like you're getting ahead. There was one quote the client just sent me a text message. She's like, hey, you know, I never thought that I would be able to genuinely do less this year and feel like I've achieved more. And that is just such a beautiful concept because I'm not about working harder. Let us all retire our superwoman capes collectively together and say, we're here to support each other, not hold the world up. You know, there's stress shields need to be released into the ether. Um,
Yes.
because together, you know, independently, when you take care of yourself first, you know thyself, and you take responsibility for how you're showing up in the world, and everybody around you is doing the same thing, there's nothing that cannot be achieved. And you actually support each other much better when you take care of yourself first. Gas
Yeah.
mask, right? And that's why I would say, why do we wait? Why do we wait until the plane is going down to put our own oxygen mask on first? Like that's, let's not get to that extreme breakdown, burnout, because that's what that metaphor is for. It's like planes going down and I get sick, you know, or I get to the point where I just physically cannot do it anymore. I'm breaking. That's when people give themselves the oxygen mask first. But it took a disaster for that to happen. Let's not do that. You know?
Yeah, let's find that love, self-love, that compassion, that gentleness from the get-go. I mean, that was the one thing that I realized, last year when I had my break was I don't know how to rest. Like I did not know how to rest. And what I mean by that is I did not know how to give myself space to be. I would rest and do like sit and watch a show or something. But the whole time my brain was going, you really
Yeah.
should be doing blah, blah, blah. This
Yeah.
isn't good. How long are you going to do this?
Yeah.
Are you just going to keep that Netflix series going? And then I finally one day was just like, okay, enough of this. Like, maybe I will. Maybe I'll watch the whole season in one sitting, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but that chatter, we don't know how to rest. We don't know how to give ourselves the
Yeah.
space to just
Or why? And you know, that's the thing as well. If you can put it into the context of why is rest important. Again, think about the analogy of a growing plant. And again, the idea is that you have fruition. There is going to be fruit that is sustaining you at the end of
yes,
each year, right? And the really leaning into that, if you're like screaming at that acorn, grow, 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 or the apple tree or whatever, it's like, why haven't you grown yet? I planted you, I set the intention, I did this. If you don't allow it its natural progression, if you pick the fruit too early, we all know what it's like to bite into an unripe peach. Like that was just not nice for anybody. And if we'd have just had a little bit of patience and allowed the process just to, work through a little bit more, the rewards are so worth it. But if you can understand that actually the resting now is important because I'm doing the internal work, or I need to clear the field of all of the gremlins and the goblins so that they're not self-sabotaging me as I'm trying to grow throughout the year. If you
yes,
understand it and you work with it, you can relax into it, because this too shall pass, and there will be another burst of energy where the flowers come out, the energy goes out into the world. But to be able to do that, you have to charge your battery pack first. And it's not, you do not yield a healthy harvest if you are running at a sub battery level throughout the year. You just don't. And I love that this supports people to be able to consciously say, I need time out. Like, I'm in my healer phase, right? I need some self-care, I need some love, or I need to go do some inner child work, or I need,
yep,
there's a whole quarter of the year that is just based on relationships. If you try and have an intimate relationship when you don't know who you are, or you're in the self-reflective phase, or you're you're dealing with your own demons and your goblins, that is not a time to be engaging in an intimate relationship with somebody, because you're not going to be able to show up in your truest form. So knowing that means that people around you, and you can manage expectations and you can manage conversations around it. It's so much healthier.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And it is all about managing, right? Like we said, managing your ego, managing expectations, managing your energy level, managing your your thoughts, all of it. It's just management. So I love it. And this is such a beautiful tool. Again, I can't stress enough how gorgeous it is. I'm going to show it again. It's such a beautiful tool for managing where you're at in life. And like I said, yeah, we're all not on the same growth cycle. And so some people start the new year and they're like, let's go, let's get it. But it was really wonderful for me to be able to see where I'm at on my growth cycle, that this time of year, if there is a reason that I feel like I don't want to do a lot. I want to be a little more quiet. I want to be a little more introspective. And so I love that. So, everybody, reach out to Kate, take advantage of her generosity. And everybody, thank you so much for being here. Have the most beautiful Wednesday. And I'll be back soon with another episode of Practicality and Magic, and lots of wonderful guests coming up. And Kate is the first of many wonderful to come. So thank you so much, everybody. Love you.
Thank you. Bye.